So here is a compilation that this Grabian guy put together of them doing the exact. So this is, remember in 2020 they wanted to scare you that said Trump was the one who's going to prosecute his political opponents. Remember, lock her up? Well, he never did. He had 4 years to do it. He didn't prosecute one of his political opponents at all. He didn't do anything. And here they are warning you about the exact thing that they've been doing to Donald Trump for the last 3 years. Here we go.
Now that he's got the right attorney general in position to do it, we now know they really have been trying to gin up criminal prosecutions and criminal investigations into the president's perceived enemies, politically motivated persecution, right? Courtesy of Bill Barr. I'll roll in the FBI on you. That's how banana republics work, right?
The home of the 45th president of the United States has been raided by the FBI.
So the exact thing that Rachel Maddow just got hyperbolic about warning you that Trump was going to do, they just did to Donald Trump. And nobody gives a shit about it. Nobody on MSNBC gives about it, CNN, NBC, the New York Times, Washington Post, anybody pretty much on fucking YouTube except my goddamn show. I can't find anybody else who really cares. It's unbelievable. I'm not a fan of Donald Trump, but he is now hated by the donor class, and he's hated by the establishment. And I can see whatever they're going to do to Donald Trump, they would do to me if I ever stood up against them in a meaningful way, or Bernie Sanders, or Cornel West. And maybe that's why those guys don't really stand up to the establishment, because they see exactly what they would do to them. They would crush them and fucking ruin them. And so you can't really crush. I don't have anything to crush or ruin, but I don't actually threaten them either yet too much. I mean, they did use Pegasus to hack into my phone, that comes directly from a fucking state actor for sure. Ukraine or Israel or somebody like that did that. So, but here,
you should have went to Bohemian Grove. You were given a chance.
I was given a chance. I was invited to the Bohemian Grove. I was invited.
It's a good buffet, though. Seriously.
As
Sundays.
As Richard Nixon said, the Bohemian Grove, which I've been attending once in a while, is the most goddamn faggoty thing I've ever seen.
Fun stuff.
He said, that's a quote. It's on video. It's a quote. All right, here, there's more to this. Watch this. So the exact thing she's warning, they're doing.
Trump is using the Justice Department to go after his perceived enemies. I feel worried about the prospect of the Justice Department being used as a tool of this president or any.
No, she doesn't.
Little banana republic. Any capable prosecutor can get a grand jury to hand down an indictment of something as innocent as a ham sandwich.
Today, an indictment was unsealed, charging Donald J. Trump.
Breaking news on former President Trump. He's been indicted for the 4th time in 5 months.
Bill Barr, on the president's behalf, is weaponizing the Justice Department to go after the president's enemies. When you win an election, you don't seek to just prosecute the losing side.
The president using the Justice Department as a weapon to get what he wants.
Department of Justice is totally politicized.
Sticking the Department of Justice on political opponents, threatening to imprison his political rival, Banana Republic style.
Trying to exact revenge against all of his enemies, tin pot dictator in a banana republic.
Is acting more like a banana republic dictator.
He's using government resources to go after his political opponent.
Essentially, we are a banana republic. That we are seeking to have a bogus and criminal investigation into a political opponent.
And that's using the Department of Justice to also target Trump's political opponent for nefarious reasons. This is a massive abuse of power and a betrayal of our value.
The President of the United States is targeting a family member of a political opponent. This is the type of thing that happens in a banana republic.
And trying to take out a political rival in Joe Biden.
Criminally investigating an American political rival, someone the president is worried about losing to in the next election.
To investigate my principal opponent or a principal opponent in the upcoming election. Houston, we have a problem.
Don't you think that's something that should be investigated when the incumbent political party opens a counterintelligence investigation on the candidate of the opposing party?
We know Trump is itching to politicize the Justice Department, and the Attorney General has been super shady.
The president is weaponizing the Department of Justice to bring cases against his enemies. The Department of Justice is in an existential crisis.
Again, it's yet another example of the Justice Department basically losing all of its independence in this administration.
This is now about corrupting the next election. And for me, this was crossing the red line.
A president who is actively trying to potentially steal the upcoming election.
But to try to take out a political rival. The end goal, being 2020.
Donald Trump and his attorney general are using the Justice Department. The only difference between this and a banana republic is that Trump does not eat fruit.
The 2020 election is really the last chance we have to stop our system from fully sliding into a corrupt banana republic.
Bill Barr has done everything that Donald Trump has wanted him to do. Yeah. We're living in a banana republic right now.
When you start using the Justice Department to go after your enemies, that's very, very dangerous.
Donald Trump is using the Department of Justice to go after his enemies in any way that he can.
Having the head of the chief federal law enforcement agency essentially working on his behalf to investigate a political rival.
To investigate the family of a political opponent, basically banana republic behavior.
We're no better than some, some banana republic.
And he's using the abuse of power and every element of the presidency to try to do something to smear me.
We just have to demonstrate that he will not take power if he does run.
So every accusation they make is a confession, and nobody gives a fuck that the thing that they were screaming. So they know it's bad. They know that they now are actually living in a banana republic.
He's off script there because he said the thing. He said it right there. Biden said it. We have to make sure he doesn't take power.
He said it.
Decides to run.
That's it. He said it.
And they talked to him like, Joe, you're not supposed to actually say that. That's something we just told you. Don't say that out loud. We were just telling you that's why you're going to do this and run again. It's for you. He's like,
you know, Jimmy, my ex-girlfriend used to work at Banana Republic, and she said there were real dicks there.
I wish I would have trademarked Banana Republic, but somebody already has it. That's a lot of good free fucking publicity.
I kept waiting for Joy Behar to say, I hate the Banana Republic. What happened to the gaps?
Yeah.
What happened to the gaps?
The only difference between the mafia and the Democratic Party is the body count, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Anyway, but fun fact, Bill Barr, his dad discovered the talent of a young Jeffrey Epstein. Did you know that? Yeah, there you go. Okay. And everybody, it makes me feel uncomfortable or just, that's not a strong enough word. But every day when I wake up to see this happening over and over and over and people cheering it on, the country, half the country or more is cheering on us turning into this thing that they were pretending they were afraid we were going to be. They're like, oh, I don't care if we're a banana republic if it's for my side. Yeah. Oh, if it's for my side, then it's okay. But if it's the other guy, then it's the worst thing in the world and we're going to lose our country and our democracy. And it's just they're doing it right out in fucking the open, right on the nightly news every goddamn day, and nobody gives a shit about it. No one's going to... I can't believe, even Chris Hedges, where's his article about this, right? Where are the people who are supposed to stand up on principle and say, hey, I might not be a fan of Donald Trump, but I'm a fan of democracy, and I'm not for turning us into an actual... So they only gave a shit, one, it was Donald Trump, when they pretended it was him doing it, and no one gives a fuck about the January 6th people. Nobody gives a shit what they're doing to them. Anyway, the guy who I got my dog from, he has a court date, July 6th, completely peaceful protesting on January 6th. They offer him a deal to go away in prison for 18 months.
The first time he went to a protest. This is the
first time he ever went. First time he ever went to.
I bet he won't do that again.
That's what this is about. What's he protesting? That's just like what's that?
What was he protesting? It doesn't matter, but
he was at January 6th.
Really?
Yeah, but did he go inside the building?
I don't think he actually did go inside the building.
They had a picture of him outside.
No, they had a picture of him outside. And anyway, it's and so look what they did to the truckers in Canada, right? So they put 4 of those guys in prison, and then they shut down everybody's bank accounts and people who donated to them. They shut down their bank accounts. And guess what? There hasn't been a real protest in Canada since they did that shit.
It's effective. It is effective. I had a friend of mine who's Canadian, and he said to me, sorry, he said to me, I said, you cannot justify that. He's a fucking dictator. He's absolutely...
You mean Justin Trudeau?
Justin Trudeau. I said, there's no way you can justify what he's doing. And he said, yes, but they were honking their horns. I swear to God, that's what he said. They were honking them all night. People are trying to sleep. That's when a dictatorship needs to come in. He didn't say that last part, but
this is what they do. They get you to accept it for someone else, and once you accept it for somebody else, then it comes back for you. And I believe in body autonomy, right? But when the pro-choice people were anti-pro-choice when it came to vaccines,
that's right.
Then when that issue came back up, they lost any kind of support for their position.
Well, they never use that anymore. My body, my choice, because I use that shit too, and I got a ton of shit for it. We didn't mean for you to use that for your cause. Well, I mean, it's my body, my choice when it's over my things, but it's also your body's not your choice when it comes to vaccines.
And like the ACLU, like back in the day when they did good work, now they're completely compromised. But when they did good work, they would defend the worst of the worst, and to the point where it would upset you that they were doing that.
Yeah, the Nazis and Skokie.
You have to defend the worst of the worst and not allow their constitutional rights to be violated because they just come back and use it for you. Anything that you're fine with other people getting prosecuted with will eventually be used on you.
You know, I remember like in the 80s.
Thank you, one person. Thank
I know,
you.
right?
That was the weirdest at the end of an 80s comedy.
You know, I remember, being wild in the 80s, and I always remembered, I thought it was my body, your pad.
Make that a t-shirt. I'm down.
I'm pro-choice. I believe the man should choose. My God, Android Muhammad agrees.
Well, I actually had that conversation. This is an actual conversation. I talk about it in my act with a comedian who's been on my show arguing for mandates. I go, what about my body, my choice? And he said, well, that only applies to pregnancy. That's what he said. I go, what? He goes, yeah, because pregnancy's not contagious. Yeah, you know what is contagious? The COVID virus. You know what doesn't stop it from being contagious? The fucking vaccine that you want to mandate.
No one ever said that, Jimmy. No one ever claimed that.
That's the latest, too. They go, no one ever said it stopped the transmission. And then I show them a video of 10 minutes of everybody from Rachel Maddow to the President of the United States to Fauci saying it would stop the virus dead. And they go, oh, well, that was before they knew.
I know.
The mental gymnastics that these people are doing, it's unbelievable.
And we're living in it.
You know, some of the mental gymnastics also turns into physical gymnastics where they're sucking their dick.
That's true.
See, we went full right around to the beginning of the show.
What you have is there's a religious architecture in their thinking. It really is. It's like whether it's atheism, whatever they cling to, it's just it has a religiosity to it. Absolutely.
Well, people on the left, right? They are less religious than people who are traditionally considered.
No, but they are. The architecture's still there.
But let me. Sorry. And so I've been reading this book called The Undiscovered Self, which RFK is supposed to be reading with me. He agreed to. But in it, he predicted, he talked about how if you don't have a personal experience of the transcendent, if you don't have that and you just have faith and religion, you'll be able to be squashed by anything, right? And then you will substitute, because human beings have a need for that, right? That's why there's religions forever, right? We have a psychological need for that. And so what I noticed during COVID and during Trump's Russiagate, what they did was they substituted the FBI and the CIA as a religion, and then they substituted science as a religion. And you can't question science, just like you can't question a religion. And now science became their religion, even though it was a perverted form of science, because science is all about fucking questioning and empirical data. And so when you squash and censor people, that's not real science. That's called religion, and that's called censorship. And so that's exactly what has happened. So the people on the left they're not religious, except they are, and their religion is this bullshit science when they could use it to suppress someone else and force their bullshit. And they did it viciously, right? And it's the weird. If you read this book, it's hard to understand. It's been taking me forever to read it. It's only 100 pages. It's so hard to understand.
Jimmy.
But Carl Jung explains, to the fucking T, exactly what happened during COVID.
Jimmy, let me explain that in an intelligent way. What Jimmy's trying to say, during the Age of Enlightenment, when Galileo and Copernicus discovered that, you know what, we're pretty sure that the Earth isn't really the center of the solar system. It's the sun, but that went against the
religion.
Well, it went against the church doctrine at the time, and so they imprisoned Galileo in Germany. He had to say, "I never said that was the center. I mean, it could be the center. It would be nice if it was the sun because it's warm and blah blah blah." So I never said. So they had to recant what he knew was factually, scientifically true. So at that point, there was a science couldn't survive under that. Under the pressure of the church, so they had to leave that. And so instead of saying, God, the laws of God, they just went like laws of nature, and they kind of took out God and just but there's still fucking laws. So they're still in science, is still so there's a religious architecture to all this kind of thinking that works into it, and that's why people get so upset when their God, whether be it a vaccine or be it their liberal intelligentsia, gets questioned because that's their Jesus Christ.
That Galileo story is not true. Okay, I know that's in a Melissa Etheridge song, so everybody, his head was on the block. That's not how it happened.
No, but
the church supported him completely, actually. This jerk-off was having a fight with a friend, and he wrote a play about some idiot that won't look in the telescope, and then somehow the Pope thought he was insulting him. So really, they weren't against science at all. They wanted him just not to be shitty about it. And because of his dumbass mouth, he created a thing that had nothing to do with science. That myth has gone around ever since the Melissa Etheridge song.
The truth is, the heliocentric model was created by the Jesuit order, which is the Roman Catholic Church. So that itself is also based in religions. Just so you know, it's not science. It was a Jesuit priest that didn't even want to put that out. And on his deathbed, the Pope was like, "Hey, we made your book." He's like, "No." He goes out, right? So, yeah, I mean, that if you ask people...
They did put Copernicus in jail. Am I wrong about that?
Yeah, but the heliocentric model was created by the Jesuit order, which is the Army of Jesus and the Catholic Church. So when people go, "That's science, not religion," that's not true at all. And then the final thing is that if you ask people, faith is basically a belief without evidence, right? So when you go to somebody who are pushing the vaccine, you go, "What's in the vaccine?" They have no clue what's in the vaccine. It's like science. So when you're talking about everybody who's like okay with them prosecuting Trump but not prosecuting them, it's only because they're told to get upset about it.
The people who they don't care what's in the vaccine, but they will ask if there's gluten in the bread.
That's true, yeah. But what's interesting, because who was pushing all the people that didn't want to take the vaccine, all the liberals were saying, because it was Trump pushing it, he said, "I would never."
That's right.
Kamala Harris say "Well, I would be," but if it's a vaccine that Trump made, but it's the same fucking vaccine that he made. He didn't make it, but it was the same program, and they're all for it. But it's crazy. They only depend on Americans having absolutely no memory for what happened. And 2 minutes before.
Well, you don't remember, do you? I feel like Big Lebowski. Well, you are an idiot, aren't you?
Yeah.
Hey, come see us do a live stand-up show. We're going to be in Stockholm, Amsterdam, Rotterdam, London, Oslo, Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, Cortland, New York, Oakmont, Pennsylvania, El Paso, Texas, San Antonio, Texas, Edmonton, Alberta, Vancouver, British Columbia, and Denver, Colorado. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for those tickets.